Hello, everyone. It is Teresa from Teresa's Fun Art, where I love helping you create a little joy in your life through some fun, simple, and quick art projects. Welcome to Wednesday, everyone. Okay. Okay, I am going to, let's do this first while we catch up. There we go. So I have my tracer. You guys know I'm very fond of using all the tips and tricks that are at my disposal to make my painting and my art a little quicker and a little easier, okay? So don't let anybody tell you using a tracer or a stencil is cheating, because it is not. I have a 9x12 canvas, and I'm going to grab a piece of tape here, a piece of well-worn tape, and I'm just going to tape my tracer up to the top so I can hinge it up like a hinge. Okay, this tracer has a bit of detail on it. We don't need all that detail. I mean, if you have a tracer or this tracer and you want to put all that detail on it, you go right ahead. The only thing I'm going to trace on here is the 3 mushrooms. The one large one and then the 2 little ones. And the only reason I'm doing the 2 little ones is because you guys are here. If I was doing it myself, I would probably wing the 2 little ones as well. But this way, I'm going to help you guys do what I do. I'm here to help you be a little creative and successful in your art. So I'm doing the mushrooms. Now, what I'm going to do is lift up, and I have my trace on there, okay? And I'm going to put this aside. Fold up my very well-worn piece of graphite paper and put that aside too. Okay, now I'm going to get out light green. There's only a few colors that we need for this. We need a golden yellow, either deep ochre or in this case, yellow ochre, red, a light green and a very dark green, and then a plum or purple, whatever you have, and then black and white. So basically, I would say that this painting takes 5 colors and then black and white, okay? So I'm going to put these aside. You can use any colors that you want. You can use one green, lighten it up and darken it up as you choose with white or black. Just know that black goes a very long way, and you only need like a dot of black to darken up your color. Okay, let me see if I can change you guys. Solo layout. Okay, how is that? Can you guys hear me? Can you see me? I have a couple of brushes here. The first thing I'm going to do is go into my light green. I like to apply a little bit of pressure to my brush. It flares out the bristles, and it gets paint up into the fiber. We don't want to be shy with our paint. People think you can make less mistakes if you just put a tiny bit of paint on your brush. Don't worry about it. It's acrylic paint. You can fix anything. So go into it. Go to your puddle and get some paint up into your brush. Okay? And then I'm just going to pick a corner, and I'm going to start to paint in this green color. When I want to get over to my mushroom, I almost said pumpkin. How weird is that? I get a little bit closer. I draw a line or border, and then I go back to filling it. Now, the messier, that's a word, messier your background is, the more interesting it is. And this background has a few layers to it, this just being the first step. So I am taking this light green, I'm going to paint in my whole entire canvas with it. If you want to, you can do the sides of your canvas. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. Sometimes I just wait until after, and it depends on how much paint I left over. And so, depends on my mood, my time. It's all different. Okay? I'm using about a 1-inch flat brush. I'm not even smooth or thoughtful about my brush strokes because I want the background to be a little bit whimsy, a little interesting, a little messy. When I see this painting, when you guys see this painting all done, To me, it reminds me of a fairy garden. And I actually have a really cute fairy stencil that I made on here, but we'll have to wait for my artwork to be dry. I didn't take it out, but I will, and I'll see if it fits size-wise, and then I'll make another video putting my fairy on here. If it fits. Okay, we'll give it a try. Or, seeing as I'm an artist, I could paint one in if I wanted to. But again, that's a little bit of an advanced technique, or it could be as advanced as you want technique. And I'm here to just show you how you can just have a little bit of fun and create some quick and easy art. Nobody's here to stress you out with painting fairies. Okay? So I'm just going to go in here and I'm just smoothing out my brush strokes a little bit. Again, I don't mind that they're all over the place. Usually when we paint an element, I'm going to show you when we paint on the mushroom, we want our brush strokes to go in a particular way. But for this background, we want our background to be a little bit more interesting. So I'm not really concerned with my brush strokes, not doing my painting. Okay? All right, now I'm going to add a little bit of this. This is evergreen. It's dark green. If you don't have evergreen, you can separate this and add a tiny bit of black just to make a different value of your light green. Okay, but I do have some evergreen here, or you can use thicket. You can use a really dark green. If you want to get brighter, you can use a palette green. I don't get caught up on the colors. I want you guys to not be intimidated by not having the right supplies, the right brushes, the right colors. Art shouldn't be about having the right things. I know as beginners, we want to put every leaf, every element, exactly where the instructor has it. But sometimes it's not possible. And you know what? We just have to go with it. It's about the feeling. Okay? So I'm coming in here and I'm going to start adding in some of this dark green to the edges and the corners of my painting. Again, we're going to be bringing it in, because right now we're mixing, and I'm going to want my corners and my edges to be a little bit dark. So I'm just roughly putting in this dark paint around my whole entire canvas, almost as if I'm framing it. I'm going to leave part of it up there alone. That's going to be a little bit of a light spot. And I'm going to paint in the edges and the corners, with the edges and the corners a little bit dark. The trick to blending is wet on wet. So if you want your paint to blend, you want your surface to be wet, and you want obviously the paint on your brush to be wet. It's the paint on your brush. And you just want to keep working it in. And at some point, the corner is really, really dark. So then I'm going to wait for my paint to dry a little bit. And then I'm going to go over some really bit of dark. Either I might add some black or some dark paint. But right now, I like the way that looks. I am going to come up here a little bit because I'm just going to add back in. I didn't like how uneven it was, but I can add back in the light over the dark. Remember, as acrylic paint, you can fix anything. Okay? So I have that in there for now. And I'm going to wash my brush. I'm going to get out this really bright red. You can use any kind of red. I happen to be using apple red, folk art. Sometimes reds and oranges can be a little translucent. A trick to base coating your red is to use an apple green. I didn't want to confuse everyone with that. By painting my pumpkin. There, I said it. By painting my mushroom green. So I'm just going to maybe possibly do 2 coats of the red. So again, I'm using the same brush. I'm applying a little bit of pressure to it over here in my petal. and I'm picking up right to my canvas. And now I'm going to start filling in my mushroom tops. Oops. When I want to do the edge, I stand my brush up. And then when I want to fill in, I use my brush on the flat and fill in. Now this is when your strokes matter. I'm using my brush in a little bit of a curve because I want my brush strokes to follow the shape of the mushroom. Okay? And then I'm going to switch brushes for a minute. I'm using my liner brush here. I want a little bit of the mushroom over here to come around. And then the same thing here. Just a tiny bit before we do our mushroom bottom. And then I'm going to paint in these tops as well. Our big mushroom has more of an underside to it. We're looking at the umbrella portion of it, kind of. And then our little ones are more from this side. You don't see the underneath. And I'm just filling these in. Okay. I'll rinse my brush. Okay. Now that my dark green has dried up a bit, I painted in my red for my mushroom tops. I'm going to go back and I'm going to start darkening up the corners a little bit. Put out a little bit of black, getting the dark green on my brush. And now it's less of a blend. There's still some blending going on, but now it's even darker in the corners. I'm just using the straight dark green that I had before, only this time, because my first two coats are dry or drier, we don't have as much blending going on. And I'm getting a darker effect. There's some kind of yuck in my paint here. Let me get rid of it. There we go. And I'm even going to pick up a little bit of black. I'm going to mix it into what's left over here in my green. And then I'm even going to go back in here and add in a little bit more darkness to very, very. You can frame this out as wide or as narrow as you want. You could even have left it all light green if you wanted to. Okay. Okay. I'm going to wash my brush. I'm going to switch to a brush. I think I'll use this one. I'm going to go back into my light green. When I use a brown brush, I tend to twirl it between my thumb and my forefinger. We're going to start adding a little bit of foliage to the bottom of our painting. And I'm just going to tap this in. Okay. Some of it you can see, some of it's against the dark, some of it's against the light. So you won't be able to see all of it, but we're just starting to layer our background in here. My paintbrush is a little loose. I don't have pliers, so I'm just going to use the scissors here and tighten it up. There we go. So I'm just dabbing left and right, putting in a little bit of curve. Getting some foliage down here. Obviously, it's going to stick out more on the dark. But the bottom part of this painting is all about layering. And I'm basically just giving a little bit of a push on my red brush. Okay? I'm just going to wipe my brush off. I need more dark green. I'm going to go dark green, do the same thing with the dark green. Twirl it in. And then start adding in some of this foliage down in the dark green. Where it goes over green, of course, it's really going to pop. Sometimes I'm picking up the light green. And now we're making different variations or values in our color. And that's okay. Then I want to fill in around with some dark. I'm going to go back to my light. And we're going to fill in down here with some light as well. And I'm just dabbing in with the dark green and then the light green. Again, it's a mixture in there. And I'm just dabbing in the bottom. We want it full and layer. Okay? Then I'm going to wash my brush. And you can go back to your liner brush. You can use a small round brush, whatever you want. I'm going to use my small round brush. I'm going to go to my dark green. And I'm going to pull in some grasses. When I do grasses, I like to do them upside down. Oh, wait, you know what? First I have to paint in my stems. Let me get out my yellow. I have a mixture of this plaid yellow ochre and some white. Oops. And I'm going to use my round brush. I'm going to pick up the yellow ochre, get it nice and loaded on my brush, and then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to pick up some white, and I want to paint it in my stem. I like having different shades in my stem. You don't want to overblend your stem. It doesn't matter what the bottom of your stem looks like, because remember, we're going to add grasses down there to like set it back. And I have white and this yellow ochre or deep ochre on my brush. And we're just painting in our stems. I'm getting my smaller brush. So I want to come up here. I want the top of my stems up here to be a little bit tapered. And then the bottom of It seems to be wider, just like the good one. Okay. I'm going to use the same thing. I'm going to load my brush with the yellow ochre and pick up some white, and we're going to paint in underneath. Now you want to make sure that your red, which I didn't do, is nice and dry. I picked up a little red on my yellow ochre, but I'm okay with that. And again, don't want to overblend. You're just adding in a golden color and some white. Even get more gold and put a little bit of shading in parts. I'm going to make this part appear where the stem connects a little bit darker. Okay. And then we're going to leave that for now. I'm going to wash my brush again and go back to my liner brush and my grass. Okay, so I'm going to turn my painting upside down. I use this lazy Susie, makes it really easy. And I'm just going to put in some tiny little grasses down here. We want our grass to be a little thicker on the bottom than it is on top. And it's just kind of like, we're going to add more stuff here. This is very layered, but I'm just coming in here and I'm pulling in these little grasses all along the bottom. This way, our mushroom looks like it's growing out from somewhere and not just hanging out in the middle of the thing. Okay? So now while that's dry, I'm going to go back to my round brush. I'm going to go into my deep ochre. And I'm just going to make some bobs out here. They're sort of oval, but not. They're kind of flat circles. These are going to be the beginning of a few flowers here. Put a few more out to the side. They're flat, they're squashed, they're uneven edged oval blobs. Okay. Then with my gold, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to shade in when we painted underneath our mushroom. We mixed it with a little white. Now I'm putting pure gold, yellow ochre, whatever color you're using, onto my brush, and I'm just going along the edge and adding in some shading. And I'm going to soften that line a little bit. Okay. And wash my brush and go back to my liner brush. Again, yellow ochre, gold paint, whatever you have. We're going to start putting in the lines, the segments. If you guys eat mushrooms, you'll know when you put them over. I don't know if they're called, but they have all these beautiful sections underneath. So I'm just taking the fresh yellow ochre and I'm painting here. Put as many or as few as you want. and it's all the same color. But you can see the contrast going on because originally we painted the base, we put in white. Okay, and a little bit of shading down these, which is the plain yellow ochre again. Okay, now I am going to grab my dryer for a minute because I do want my green to be completely dry down here before I start putting in my purples. I have out this greenberry, my favorite colors. You can use black pansy, perfect purple, whatever purple you want. I like this deep eggplant color, so that's the one I'm using for this. And I have out my heat gun, and we'll give our painting a little bit of dry. I don't mind my greens, my golds blending and stuff down here. I want my purple to really stand for itself and be nice and strong. So that's why I want to dry up my greens down here. And that looks like it's good. Going back to my small round brush, give it a good wash and a nice dry. Twirl it into my purples. We're going to do the same thing with the purple that we did with our light greens when we made the foliage before. Just tap it off to the sides. As I work my way down, I'm getting a little bit bigger and wider. I'm just filling in a little bit of purple flowers in here. You can put as many or as few as you want. Again, just dab it in here, and I like to get wider at the bottom than I started out on top. I'll put a few more down here. And then maybe just a bunch sticking up here. Okay, and then more brush. We'll go back to my brush. So far, we've used a liner brush, a flat half-inch brush, and a medium to small round brush. I'm going to use my liner brush. I'm going to twirl it into my green paint, and I'm going to give these flowers stems. Now, the important part of putting in our stems here is we don't want little soldiers. We want our stems to curve. We're not going to put them in exactly straight, right, and lined up. We want to have a little curve to them. It's crossed over each other. Those have a little curve to them. We're going to avoid having like totally straight lines. And now that the tops of my what is going to be flowers, when flowers are dry, I'm just going to come in here. And these are very abstract. I'm just adding in some white to the tops of these flowers. These are cute little flowers, painting a landscape, or maybe some a field with sunflowers. You wanted to bring a different kind of flower that basically have the same color. You can do this. Okay, I'm going to wipe it off. I'm going to grab dark green, and I'm just going to put a couple of little leaves on our stems. And I'm just doing this with my liner brush and pulling down to the stem. Okay. I tend to bounce around a lot because while I'm waiting section to dry, I like to then move on to the section. Again, this is a very whimsy. We don't want our painting to look like snow. If this was winter, it would look like snow. But I'm putting in some of these little dots, giving whimsy look, almost like they're fireflies. I wipe my brush off. I'm going to pick up some gold as well. And I'm going to dot them in too. Not too many. Put as many as you want. And then I'm going to start putting in the bobs for the top of my mushroom. I'm going to start with small ones, and then I'm going to get a little bit bigger. Your mushroom has to be totally dry for this. We don't want pink blobs. We want bright white blobs. We want the blobs to jump off the mushroom. Put some down here as well. And then maybe a few little ones. There's the little tiny ones. There's the mostly little ones. Good. And I'm just lightly tapping these odd shaped blobs to top of my mushroom cap. Look how they pop. Look how now the whole painting is really starting to come to life when we start adding these little details. This one seems to be like wrapped around. You don't get that view of the mushroom, but you can see the blob on this side. And again, put as many or as few as you want. You want them to be all different sizes and odd shapes. We're not going to use the back of our brush that we did for the dots around the outside. We just want these to be a little bit awkward. Don't want these to be perfect like our dots. Okay? Then with my brush, I'm just going to come in here and put in some white highlights. Just a few, not too many. Wipe off my brush, go back into my white. And pretty much go into the one side of some of the leaves in here. And then I'm going back to my gold. I want to add a little bit of gold bobs down here. I didn't even wash my brush. The brush had some white on it. And I just picked up a little bit of gold. Or the yellow. Keep saying gold because I took out gold. I used gold. But I'm not feeling it. So it's not happening. And that's okay. And I'm going to go back up to my white brush. I mean, my brush. I'm going to go with a little bit of this light green paint. I'm going to pick up some white, make it really, really light over here. And then I'm going to come in here. And I want to add this light part up here to the top of my painting. This is the part I was going to make darker. I want to make it much lighter. This is where the sun is shining from on top of my mushroom as I do it. And you can skip this part if you want. I have to paint in some darkness over here. I'm going to go over a little bit of my dots. I want to blend this in. But I want this mostly light part to be over here. And then I'm just going to blend in the darkness. So I say with acrylic, you can fix anything. Have my real green here. So then I lighten this side up a little bit. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to go right over these. You can always add them back in. Okay, that's my brush. Now I'm going to get them back in. Just wanted the top of my mushroom to be a little bit brighter. Well, the top over my mushroom. I'm going to go back to my white. Back on my brush. I'm going to add our fireflies back in. Okay, I'm going to go to my yellow ochre and do the same thing. Okay, last but not least, I'm going to get my liner brush. I'm going to dry it really well. And now I'm going to add a little bit of outline to my mushroom. Now, if you're afraid that you don't have a steady hand, you can wait until your painting is completely dry and then use a Sharpie or a Posca pen. It's totally up to you. But if you use either one of those things on wet paint, you will ruin both of them. So that's why you want to make sure that your painting is completely dry. If you don't have a steady hand and you have to put the line on little by little and have them meet up, that's okay too. Like a little bit, quarter inch, half inch, and keep going. Like that. That's fine too. I'm just going to come around here. And there we go. So, I hope you liked our mushroom for today. Thanks for joining me, and I will see you again soon.